Now, on this day, 40 years ago, something happened that would change the way of the world forever. The first ever mobile phone call was made. It was the 3rd of April 1973, and the call was made by an engineer at Motorola. From the big bricks of the 1970s and the 80s through to the flip tops and, of course, the smartphones, they have changed the way that we live, work and communicate. Joining me now is Matt Warman, the technology editor for the Daily Telegraph. A big milestone then for you today. What more do you know about that first phone call? What do they talk about?
Well, interestingly, it was no landmark content in that one. It's not sort of like the first text message which said Merry Christmas. It was not like the first phone call. It was basically a sort of, hello, can you hear me? Which is a bit of a disappointment. But we've made some progress since then. So.
It was extraordinary at the time. I think it was a huge piece of equipment, wasn't it? And as soon as that phone call was made, it had to be recharged for 10 hours or something.
Exactly. It weighed about a kilogram. It lasted for about 20 minutes, Martin Cooper, who made the call, said, on a charge of 10 hours. So the return on that investment is pretty rubbish. Yeah.
And what do you make of what's happened then over the last 40 years? What else has happened that has kind of matched how much influence mobile phones have had on our lives? I mean, they've been extraordinary, haven't they?
Well, I think the thing that has happened that really pushed mobile phones into the stratosphere was actually the internet, is the ability to make a phone call while moving around. That sort of happened for 30 of those 40 years, really. It's been the last 10 where we've really seen massive progress.
And it's probably largely due to the chips and the technology that these smartphones can hold. Interesting fact for you, apparently they sent the men to the moon with the same amount of equipment and technology that you have in your mobile phone these days, which is extraordinary.
Some digital wristwatches have now got more technology than we sent men to the moon with. But that progress, it's being combined by a series of things, as you say. It's chips, it's the internet, it's the fact that everything has become miniaturised. And now, interestingly, although we talk about the mobile phone, people use it for talking and texting less and less. It's the internet that has taken over, really.
So what's going to happen next? What's the next big thing? Because there are some concerns that it's reached saturation point. Everyone's got a mobile phone and sales are actually beginning to ebb a bit.
Last year, sales of mobile phones did fall, although that was to 1.75 billion mobile phones last year. So it's not an industry that's going away. I think what's happening next, actually, is we're moving beyond mobile phones to mobile computing. So we've sort of heard about Google making their own glasses. We've heard about Apple and loads of other companies making their own smart wristwatches. All that stuff is the evolution of the mobile phone. So it's wearable technology. The mobile phone is actually going to be your glasses, it's going to be your watch. That's a huge shift, but it's the same route that happened in 1973.
OK, get your crystal ball out. 40 years' time, what will we be doing with our mobile phones?
I think in 40 years' time, the chances of us having a mobile phone that we recognise in the same way as we do today are practically zero. If you want to talk to someone, it'll be much more about using the screen on your wall to talk to them. It's much more about using the wristwatch that you've got. Maybe think about Star Trek.
Extraordinary. Hope I'm alive for it. Thanks very much for joining us.